Welcome to another edition of Wander and Muse, the podcast dedicated to giving creators a platform to share their stories, creations, and tips. I'm your host, Heather Wolpern, and today's guest is Lex Gjurasic.
Hi, Heather.
Hello. Before we get started, go ahead and do me a favor by subscribing to Wander and Muse with Heather podcast and follow Wander and Muse on Facebook and YouTube. Find the links at WanderandMuse.world. And while you're listening today, pop over to LexJurasic.com so you can take a look at Lex's artwork. That is LexGJurasic.com. Hello there, Lex. How's your day going?
Going good. I just hit up an estate sale and I'm high as a kite.
I love a good hoarder and discovering their stuff.
I know. I called a friend and I said, "Are you at work?" And she's like, "Yep." And I said, "Oh, there's an estate sale by your house, girl." And she was like, "Send me pics." I'm like, "I will send you pics."
So were you a personal shopper for her?
No, I didn't personally shop, but I told her she wasn't going to miss out on anything because there were five of everything that I bought.
That's wild.
I know, it was wild.
All right, so I told people to head over to LexJurasic.com so they can see your artwork, but go ahead and tell people a little bit about what you do.
Well, I'm a visual artist, originally from Seattle, and actually I'm about to have my 10-year anniversary in Tucson on Thanksgiving.
Really?
Yes, it's the longest I've lived anywhere besides Seattle.
Wow.
And it really feels like home. We love it here. So It's a great place to live and be an artist and make art.
Exactly. So you're born and raised in Seattle.
Yes.
That's fantastic. So what a big change, though, coming from the rain of Seattle to the constant sun of Tucson.
It's a blessing.
Yeah, I love it too.
I love it because in Seattle, the rain is an oppressive force. And in Tucson, you get to celebrate the rain.
I know.
And run outside and be like, "It's raining,"
Isn't
like an
that
idiot.
The truth? I know. I remember when I went to Boston University, the day I decided to leave was I was walking through dirty slush, and then it was starting to do this like cold, bone-chilling rain, and I was like, no. Okay, where is it sunny and warm all the time? And then I transferred out to University of Arizona.
It's wonderful here. I mean, I do meet a lot of native Tucsonans who are like, "Oh, the Pacific Northwest sounds wonderful.
For a weekend,
the rain sounds great." And when I see photos up north, I just feel sad.
Yeah, I mean, it is gorgeous. I've been out to like Squim.
Oh, Squim's lovely.
Yeah, and Forks, where we weren't Twilight. We weren't a Twilight family, but we're like, let's go check out.
Oh yeah,
Marbella.
totally.
Where
their love bloomed. Let's go see it.
That's hilarious. And then part of that upbringing did include the Cornish College of Arts.
Well, I only went there for a year.
But did it make an influence for you, though?
It gave me debt.
Oh, damn it. No, the reason why I asked was because when I was going through your bio and I saw that, I was like, well, that's interesting because I interviewed Wolf Boart and he went to Cornish.
Did he?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah. Isn't that wild?
Well, he's probably more of a prestigious alumni. I'm more of I got accepted when I was 15. So I was accepted at a young age. I went there for a year. And, but I consider myself a self-taught artist.
Right.
My process is more focused on like me honing my own vision than it is getting feedback and having critiques.
Right.
But Wolf is
he's pretty special.
Yeah, he's like extraterrestrial, I would say,
in the best way possible. For sure. And then Brendan Fraser, did you know that?
I was about to say he won the Academy Award
for The Whale.
Right? God bless.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a dreamboat, so
yeah. And I think when it comes to education with art, my personal belief is that it is good to learn those basics, to really get to know, balance, design, colors, art history, so then you can break it and make it your own. Yeah. But I think it's good to have that foundation.
Well, I grew up in a pretty artistic household, and I was given the tools and the materials and told I could do whatever I wanted with them. Like there was really no bounds or instruction. And so watching artists in my life growing up, I really noticed that they struggled with like business aspects and they more or less just went into like teaching. And I just saw that like being an artist had limitations. And so for me, I ended up going after Cornish to Seattle Central Community College, just down the street. And I got certified in arts management, which is basically like
the business side of things.
Business side, or like more like a nonprofit, a lot of nonprofit management. So then I noticed I had a knack for like marketing. And like self-promotion, and it really helped build me up in other ways that I think that if I had stayed in just like a purely academic setting, I probably wouldn't have been able, I would have gotten a degree and then been like,
and now what?
Now I'm a teacher. I guess I'll teach what I know.
Exactly. So. Yeah, well, good for you. And that's part of the reason why I even do this podcast, because I know that generally speaking, artists sometimes do have a hard time getting the publicity for the artwork that they're doing. And so this is yet another way to get their name. And
it's like a necessary evil. Like you have to do it. But like, I don't think like being a purist of what an artist is, I don't feel like we should have to do that. But it's the capitalist society we live in.
It is.
It's capitalism.
All right, so tell us a little bit more. You said that you're a visual artist, but go a little bit deeper into what you think about when you're creating your artwork, and describe your artwork a little bit more in depth.
I've always been inspired by where I live or the environment around me, but my work really, I feel, transformed itself during the pandemic. And I really found myself exploring like a certain shape, these flower mounds and flowers. And because my home life, my domestic life with my child and my spouse, and my art studio and my art life are one and the same, I manage them in the same environment. And then the pandemic had that environment even more confined. I was able to work longer hours and really concentrate more. And so the work that came out of it is based around the concept of radical happiness, finding joy, choosing to find happiness in the face of these challenging times or oppressive forces.
And with the mounds that you were talking about, when you read your description about it in a little more depth, you realize that what appears to be these brightly colored, happy little flowers really
they're creepy.
A little more depth to it. So talk a little bit more about that.
No, I always tease them like, people are like, oh, your work's so happy. I'm like, is it? I find it a little creepy.
Can be deceiving.
Yeah, I'm definitely a tears of a clown kind of person. But when I am working, I'm definitely working through like my own personal stuff.
Sure. Art therapy for sure.
Definitely. And when I teach kids or teenagers, I definitely bring that therapeutic aspect to it.
Definitely. And with the art therapy, do you feel that you have more of a release through painting versus through something more sculptural? Do you feel like there's a difference at all?
I mean, I feel like I can go equally deep, but for me, if I can get into an obsessive groove of doing the same thing over and over again, and I do it so much to the point that it like slightly changes, and I'm like, I just know I'm in the zone. I feel this little breakthrough, and then I just keep going. Like, I don't know, feels most akin to like maybe jogging. I wouldn't know. I've never jogged. I imagine that's what jogging's like.
I wouldn't know either. I've tried it before. But
it's definitely, there's like a meditative quality. And I don't know if it like gets me anywhere in my personal development, but it provides relief. I mean, I'm not doing any other harmful behaviors as a result.
Bravo.
Thank you. Or harmful behaviors I care to share at this moment.
Fantastic. That's really good to hear. So you've been doing these brightly colored flowers a lot lately, and you've been through, other modalities of things you've been working on. And you talked about how nature inspires you, but what else inspires you when you make these shifts to,
plastic and garbage?
Right. Yeah.
I feel like if you as an artist aren't using something of reclaimed or recycled element in this day and age, you're really missing the mark.
Right.
But I definitely am inspired by like little bits of things and stuff and junk and like
right,
treasures.
Right.
Exactly. Estate sale treasures.
Yes. And with those enormous flowers you made where a pool noodle is the main stem.
Yes.
Did you see the pool noodle first and think that would make a great big flower stem?
100%.
Okay, I was curious about
maybe not
egg.
Directly a flower stem, but like, when you are at home as an artist, like when you're at Home Depot and you're walking through, everything is like, spray foam, I could use that. Or, because I just always try to think, this might sound wild, but I try to think about like how things would be if we weren't confined to the society we have. Like if military jets were used, that technology was used in a joyful way. Or if building supplies weren't building supplies, they were conduits for creativity. So I'm always like trying to recontextualize things
so that spin.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is the nature of going to estate sales and garage sales and like
the vision for what it could be.
Exactly. You have to imagine it outside the context of a murder shed.
Exactly. And not everyone has that vision like you and I.
No, there are people definitely like, I cannot.
Vision, but so many people, they're like, how did you come up with that idea? I'm like, how did you not come up with that idea?
You're like,
but everybody's different.
Well, and I think that plays into, because, they always say like, if you can visualize something you can visualize into existence. And so when I'm like trying to imagine something, I come up with that inspiration and then start on that path and then quickly throw it away and let it become what it needs to become.
I like that. So I remember, it's been a little bit, maybe a year or so, but I remember being really impressed that you had a piece of artwork at Meow. I thought that was so cool. Talk about that.
It is on the resume, the old resume.
I remember. That's so awesome.
It was really awesome. They approached me and asked if they could license images of my work and animate. And I, of course, said yes. And so they were working on the Denver location. And so those pieces became like, you can actually interact with the animation inside of a big spore.
Right.
So it's like a large spore with like a touch screen that not just my work, but other artists as well have in there. So
is it still there?
Yeah, it's part of the permanent. I've never gone, because it was during the pandemic, so I haven't been there to actually see it. So.
Oh my gosh, you have to go. Have you been to any of the Meow Wolves before?
I've been to the Santa Fe one when it had opened, but they were in between. They were refreshing it. So I had gone on like a tour because my friend in Santa Fe worked with someone at a dispensary. And he also was one of the artists. And so we got like a little backstage.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, which as an artist, that is kind of more what you want. Valuable. You want to be on the inside because you're just going to be trying to figure out like, how this came together.
Exactly. And then speaking of people finding you, Arizona Governor Hobbs. Talk about that.
Kathleen Marie Hobbs.
I love that you use her middle name.
I'm a big fan, of course, and a supporter of hers. And so, someone reached out to me from their office. How did they find you? I assume through social media.
Okay.
And they were looking for artists that really embodied this new era of politics in Arizona, that could create a some imagery for a collaboration, and that wasn't focused on an election campaign or a issue. That was inclusive, and I said, I'm your man.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really cool.
What an honor.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice. It's just been nice to move here and have the state slowly turn blue. Not to get too political, but I feel like I did that. It was me.
And then I certainly don't want to forget to mention your next show at 5 Points.
I've shown a few times at 5 Points in the past, and the most recent time was right when the pandemic started. So I'd had work up for a few weeks, and then they were like, hey, we're going to have to close, and you should probably come get your art. And so it kind of was like a start and a stop situation. And so it's just really nice to come full circle and be able to hang work created during the pandemic at 5 Points. And, you know, it's always a lovely place to eat. It's a lovely people that come there are lovely. It's
the food is consistent.
The light is nice. So it always
exposed brick. It'll be a great backdrop for your colorful artwork.
Yeah. So it all just like, I don't know, there's like a definite synergy with art at 5 Points.
Yeah, there's definitely a good vibe there.
Yeah,
I think it suits your work.
Yeah, it suits the work, and they're gonna like they want to do a little party, so there'll be a little party. And I said, can you make some flower cocktails, mocktails?
Oh yeah,
yeah, and they were like, totally. So
sweet.
There'll be like some little special things there.
And that's November 4th.
November 4th from 5 to 7.
And 5 Points is at 756 North Stone, just south of downtown Tucson, Arizona. And the show will be up, though, through January 2nd. So that's a nice amount of time on the walls.
And it's great for the amount of labor it takes to hang art.
Yes,
it's nice to have it just not be in my house for a
And
little
everything
bit.
will be for sale?
Everything's for sale.
Fantastic. Ooh, good luck with all of that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Are there times where you're just not in the mood to paint, or how do you get yourself kind of your butt in gear to stay motivated and stay focused and create something?
Well, I think about my childhood trauma, and that gets me real inspired. No, just kidding. I've really structured my life to maximize my time in the studio. I am very disciplined as an artist. I've heard I don't wait for the muse to inspire me. I am ready to work all the time.
So you've made it a true habit where it's
how
much time do you spend a day or a week, or how do you?
I probably spend 8 hours a day working on something. Yeah, I do get like a little burned out around like 3 o'clock.
Sure, well, don't we all?
And then I watch Let's Make a Deal, and I get re-inspired. When I watch Let's Make a Deal, I'm like, how do I get a job making those songs?
Right.
I mean, there's someone out there like making spaghetti, large spaghetti beds. So I spend a lot of time focused, and then at some point, like throughout the day, I have less attention to detail, and I do start to burn out, and then I just make dinner.
Well, you need a break, but that's great that you are definitely disciplined and you're doing it for that amount every day, and that's why you are found by people, and that's why you get grants and that sort of thing. I would assume that all of that work pays off. So do you want to talk a little bit about, maybe either some of the grants you've had or even tips you have for people out there where they're like, gosh, I could really use a grant?
Well, I do feel like I do give the advice a lot of times for people that maybe can't structure their lives to be solely focused on art and don't have that luxury or privilege.
Yes.
I definitely tell people, like, get a job where you are working and making ends meet, but you're not tapping out all your creative energy.
Right.
And maybe it plays into your process in some way, but you're not, using it all up, giving it away. And so for me, it's not like I just arrived at like getting grants. Getting grants has been a recent thing. I definitely think that me as an artist at this point in my career really is appealing to the grant process because I've worked so long and hard because I'm so old.
Stop. Don't say that when I'm older than you are.
No, but there's like something to be said. Like I'm not just little Emma on the scene.
No offense to Emmas
out there, yeah, but there were no Emmas in grade school for me. I'm a Jennifer scene kind of crowd. Exactly. So so I definitely feel like, you know, as an artist, like there's something to be said about like doing it at all costs and doing it consistently through your life. And so for me, I just kind of create small goals where I'm like, oh, you know, I want to have gallery representation in these different cities, and then doing that, and then going, okay, maybe I would like to get a grant. I mean, for me, I applied for 2 other grants at the city level and didn't get those by a very small margin, and then the Arts Foundation suggested that I apply for one at the state level, and I got that.
Okay.
So there was like there was a bit of grit and persistence and rewriting. And now I have a sense of it and I don't want to do it again. No, but then it's like I've never done an artist residency, or there's lots of things I've never done, and maybe it's not right for me, or it may not be the right time. You don't have to do everything all at once, but you just create these small goals and just pursue them.
And your reach seems really good. I mean, at the Getty in Los Angeles and works in New Mexico. But
that's just stuff that happened over time.
Right.
The piece that's at the Getty was a video piece I made when I was 17 in high school.
Wow.
And then it was like probably 3-4 years ago that I got an email from Miranda July's archive saying, hey, this video you made as a teenager is going to be part of her permanent collection at the Getty. And I was like, add it to the resume. It doesn't matter if you did it at 17, but the fact is at 17, I was doing things and putting myself out there. And it's weird to see something from your childhood basically contribute to your adulthood. It's so that's not something I saw coming.
Right, exactly. And that's why it's so important to just keep putting one foot in front of the next. And that's why my logo is a labyrinth, because you're not going to get lost. You just need to keep moving forward and you're going to reach your goal.
Yeah. And for me, it's like, you know, I always define making art for me as like the one, when people talk about blind faith, this is like the one thing I do is blind faith. Like, I don't know why I got to do it. So I do it, and I feel like the reason I'm doing it is like this one of the great mysteries.
Right.
You know, like I'm doing it, and who knows why?
Yeah, I know. People keep asking me why I even do this podcast, and it makes me think, why am I doing this podcast?
But you have that intuition to like push it forward.
Right. Yeah, it's because
also you enjoy it.
I do. I was going to say, I do enjoy it. I love giving people a platform to share their stories. And I just think it's interesting just to see what, you know, makes people tick.
I think having curiosity about people is a dying virtue.
Right.
No,
and the fact that we're sitting here face to face, even. I mean, it'd be fine to do a Zoom.
We could have done it on Zoom.
We could have, but how nice.
Well, I got to say, your house is nice. Anytime I get an invite, I'm like pretty excited. I was like, no, we're going to your place.
So what is like your big dream? Like whether it be a celebrity who buys your artwork or a gallery you're in or just something or a TV show that you're on. I mean, what's like your big like?
Well, I've noticed recently that artists that get museum shows often have some sort of performance art component. And like, I feel like that's kind of a selling point, to put it crudely. Like that you're getting not just like stuff for the walls and sculptures, you're getting like a moment, a vibe. And so I was like, I always create, in my mind, there's a parallel between art and stand-up comedy.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, that both, you're allowed to do whatever you want in both of those atmospheres, given the context.
True.
And it's up to the audience to tell you if you failed.
Oh God.
Right? Like you can, I feel like you can, there's no like cancel culture with either of those.
Right.
It's just if the audience hasn't found you funny, that's what it is. If the art isn't successful, then maybe you shouldn't have done that. I'm gonna do a little stand-up comedy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Well, I have done it in the past.
Have you done the open mic nights like that Priscilla Fernandez does with the
Lady
Haha?
I've attended the an event at Laffs that Nancy Stanley hosts.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I was like, well, if I did performance art, it would be less about like getting naked, and dipping myself in paint, and more, which I've always
wanted to. Actually, I did do that.
Happy anniversary! But I would like to do because my work is all about joy and humor and happiness. That's true. I'd love to be able.
And you're right about the correlation between stand-up comedy and art, because there's a vulnerability by getting on stage and not knowing how it'll be received, and but you're doing it.
Yeah, and if you take both out of the context of the comedy club and the gallery and put them in, grandma's house at Christmas time or at the football game, it
may not go over well.
That's the research I'm doing right now.
Right. So. But you're right. I mean, you want to get a reaction, whether someone absolutely despises it or absolutely loves it. If they're just like, meh, that's when you're like, oh, I haven't succeeded, because they don't even care.
I have an ability to not have fear in front, like public speaking fear, and I don't feel embarrassment or shame. I mean, it's possible, but not in the context of like performance.
Yeah, that's great.
Because I was a child beauty queen.
You were?
Oh yeah, that's the truth.
See these
I was a winner.
Wow.
And so as a result, I think of that experience at a young age.
To it.
Yeah, that I'm like, like maybe I'll get a little like nerves before something, but I'm like, oh, if I just stay loose and have fun.
Yeah.
Then
once I start to speak, I'm fine. It's before it's my turn and my pits are sweating, but then
but just tell yourself, like, just be like, the looser you stay, that's fine. I can apply this to like public speaking, but like when it comes to like regular life, I don't.
That's interesting, right?
Yeah, like the anxiety. I'm like anxious. I'm anxious. Like some people get social anxiety. I get like parking anxiety. Like, where am I going to park? I texted a friend last night to a place I've gone a million times, being like, where should I park?
Oh, that's interesting.
Yes.
You need to get to the root of that, because
I literally just flashed on the childhood trauma. I just went right to the point. Thanks for being my therapist. I don't need you anymore, Linda. I have Heather. She got me to the source quicker. No, I still need Linda.
That's hilarious. All right, so give me 3 adjectives of how you want to be remembered.
No, I want to be remembered.
As a bad parker or anxious parker.
No, I'm very good at parking. I was listening to a different podcast, and they said your personal style, you should have 3 words for your personal style, and that when you buy new clothes, that like they should fit into that. And I was like, what is my personal style? And I was like, artsy, grandma, streetwear. So that probably applies to my art too.
Yeah.
Like, what's your personal? What would you say?
Creative, comfortable.
You're like pajamas,
frumpy.
Frumpy. I've seen all your clothes you've gotten rid of, and at a clothing exchange, and I've taken home your clothes, and then been like, I'm Heather Walthorne. Look at me.
Well, I identify as a thin blonde, but I'm not.
Yeah, but that's all it takes is thin blonde energy. You're like, ma'am, I am hungry, but I refuse to eat. Give me the job.
Exactly. All right, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up then.
Okay, do it.
But thank you so much. Today I had the pleasure of speaking with Lex Gjurasic. Remember to go to LexGjurasic.com to check out Lex's work. You will love it, guaranteed. And thank you so much for listening today. Remember to check out WanderandMuse.world. And there you can find my podcast links and some of the other things I've been working on. And please feel free to email me at heather@WanderandMuse.world for post-read sponsorship opportunities or to be a guest. And please go ahead and subscribe to my Wander and Muse with Heather on YouTube and my podcast channels. Go ahead and create something special today. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.